Hi, Bill Henshaw here again, your walking constitution out in San Francisco, California. And my gosh, I think it's my first video of the new year, and it's already the 16th for crying out loud. But a lot's been going on, particularly in the Supreme Court. And you're going to love to hear this. It's a little strange. In fact, the most egregious example of black is white that I've ever heard in this government, and there's been a lot of them over the course of 40 years. But my friend Adam Burkey has his petition there, as many of you know, on the active docket on January the 6th, the same day as that 2020 election fraud case, Brunson v. Adams. And we were expecting some very good things to happen, and they did in their own way. But his petition got dismissed. And we were both initially stunned at that because if you've been watching my videos, you know good old Justice Elena Kagan, who's the Justice for the Ninth Circuit currently, summarily rejected it when it first got there. And yet 2 days later, it was back on the docket. Now, we don't know exactly what happened there, but she must have got a dressing down from the conservatives and saying, Elena, we don't even know if you had authority to do that as a single circuit justice. But if you haven't noticed over the last few years, you're in the minority here. So it got back on and handled by Justice Thomas, which is a much different perspective, as many of you know. And for it to get dismissed, I thought about that and I realized a lot's been going on over the course of the last three terms in court. And they, for example, overturned Roe v. Wade with Brown v. Board of Education on the docket now. And it might be going away, called the Mona Lisa of the Supreme Court. And like so much the government does, it looks great on the surface. Integrated schools, what's the problem? The problem is to do that, you had to invoke federal, regional, martial law rule under War Acts of the 39th Congress for civil rights. And when you understand, as you'll learn from getting my material, send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. The 14th Amendment not only doesn't exist, it never has, and neither has civil rights. Simple as that. And that's the direction they're going. But I suspect and can't prove there's been a lot of discussion between the court and Congress back and forth, because most of what the court does is in its appellate jurisdiction. And Congress thinks it has control over that for a variety of reasons that you'll learn by getting my modestly priced constitutional defense document packets. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. You'll understand that they don't have that power, but it looks like they do. And with the recent new Congress coming in and all the BS with the election of the new Speaker of the House, thank God we got rid of Pelosi. And that's where most of the trouble was coming from earlier. I think that the Democrats were threatening to remove appellate jurisdiction from the Supreme Court in at least certain cases. And in theory, they could do it in all of them, but you're not going to see that happen. But cases like this are the civil rights iconic cases that they don't want the court to reverse. So that said, I think that's the reason that that happened. And also, they didn't make a decision on the record. And I told my friend Adam this, and I say, by the way, this is his website, thespiritoflaw.com, as he was devastated too. But I said, there's no reason for you to be. You did too good of a job here. And the problem there is that they rule in their favor at the Supreme Court, as Joe's six-pack off the street coming in there and whipping a lot of corporate attorneys. A lot of people will be taking a close look at that case. And that's the last thing the system wants to have happen right now, because it proves that you and us, especially the sovereign body politic of the state of California in this case, have the power, and they don't. And it makes sense. We ordained and established this Constitution to ensure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. For those of you, Asians and Africans, yeah, that's a straight out white supremacist argument. I make no bones about it. But the deal is, with the system we should have in place, and it was never perfect, no one is saying it was, but it's the best government ever invented, and we want it back. We can make changes from there and do it the right way. But with that system, everybody has enforceable rights, not civil rights. And some of them come under the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 as reenacted by the first Congress. And that's a hell of a lot better situation. I mean, there's no question about that either. So that's what's going on here. And literally the question is, do we have a constitution? Do we have states? If we do, we have to win. And part three of this equation is that the court also is aware that my friend Adam has an upcoming hearing in the bankruptcy court on this same matter. And they've almost certainly called the bankruptcy court and told him in no uncertain terms, make this case go away. Do what you have to do and tell the other side there isn't going to be any appeal, nothing. And maybe even the government will pay off the other side. We don't know about that part, but with a budget of $32 trillion, it shouldn't be a big deal. But that's what I see having happened here and some of the reasons for it. And not a lot of which even the mindless mainstream media has picked up on. And some of it may be kept deep, dark secret, except from those that know, like I do, what's been going on in the court, especially for the last 90 years. Is they're now starting to act like a judicial court, and that's what's been missing here. If they keep doing it and keep going in the right direction, we have a real chance to get out from under. And that's why I've devoted my life, to making sure that we have the best opportunity to do it, and get out there and make things better for ourselves, our families, and our posterity. To that extent, by the way, I mentioned as an aside here that with all this knowledge I have, I'm looking around for some serious investment capital here, because I'm ahead of the picture with the U.S. Supreme Court. I know what's happening almost before it does, and that's very powerful. And it's a lot of bargaining leverage to get claims against wrongdoers that have committed acts of treason to pay us off without even having to file court papers. That's how good it is. So just a lot going on right now. And we'll keep track of things in the U.S. Supreme Court. And I myself am going to have a case there. And here, black is white. If they're going to deny my friend in the appellate jurisdiction, I'm doing a writ of habeas corpus. And you can find out more information about this exciting adventure. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. And in a way that Congress can't touch it. And we will see what happens there. Because if they can rule on it, and they won't do it as widely as we'd like right now, they probably think they have to wait for the next presidential election. Noting that I can prove a cappella that there hasn't been a lawful election since November the 6th, 1860. That's how screwed up this is. But it is what it is. And, if we get back to that government, we can make changes. We get our independent states back. We get local government back. And what do we have there? Now we have government that's less expensive, more efficient, and easier to control. How is that for a triple trifecta of truth? All of you that want to join me, send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com for information on my document packets and investment potential. Love to hear from you. And I think we can keep this going now, especially if the Republicans do win in 2 years, because now Thomas and Alito can retire. They get younger conservatives on the court, and they're going to be there through the 2030s. I mean, who knows? I might not live to see that. I'm 74 now and in great health and very pleased about that every day. Trust me. And I got a good 8 or 10 years to keep going here to be the biggest troublemaker I can be, for the de facto dragoons that control this military system. But if you want to get out from under, there are ways to do it, and effective ones, and it'll take a little time and study on your part. But you get my materials, and with that, you get a lot of coaching from me with TLC via email, some phone consultations, and even a complimentary phone appearance at a contested hearing. It's a really, really good deal for a minimum amount of payout. So send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. And we all want to keep our heads up high while all this stuff is going on in Washington, D.C. We'll see how it plays out. But that said, we have the inside track, and now working with me, we're the ones rolling the loaded dice, not them. That's exactly the way it should be. It's what I saw in South Carolina. Oh, I can't believe I'm saying 7 years ago now, but where I shut them up in 60 seconds flat. That's a video I would love to have, and they claim not to have made in the court of record. But this is what you can do if you take the time and effort and then teach your kids and they can teach their kids because they're not going to learn it in school at the present time. I didn't 50 odd years ago. My life would have been different then if I had known what I know now. And that's what I'm trying to teach you and teach all of us to go in there, clog up their courts, keep making objections to jurisdictions and shut the system down. If we can do that, that's a significant step forward. And the Supreme Court is now going to have our backs on a lot of the unopposed issues we present. That's what's so exciting about it. So that said, send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. I'll get you information on what I do and how I do it. And remember to subscribe, like the videos, tell your friends, get the word out. We can cut out all this BS divide and conquer crap they've been doing for at least 150 years. We can get the bastards off our backs. Thank you.